My beloved child, I heard you long before you ever spoke it into words. I saw you draw near to me with two hands that seemed to be praying. Yet in truth, they were holding a very long scroll, filled with everything you wished others would understand. Change, recognize, and do over in the right way. You did not call it a record of wrongs, because you feared that if you named it that, your own heart would be exposed. You called it concern, a desire for healing, a longing for everything to become better. I know there is love in it. I know you are not trying to do wrong, but I also see what you have not yet dared to see. Every line you have written about them is stretching your heart, and everything you are waiting for them to fix is becoming a cord tying your peace to another person's response. When you pray, you often begin with very gentle words. You say you only want them to understand you more, to be kinder, to know how to listen, to take responsibility, to love you in a way that wounds you less. Those words are not entirely wrong, because I am not telling you to accept every hurt as though it were normal. I am not telling you to smile at thoughtlessness, nor am I telling you to stay silent before the things that fracture you. But in the midst of those requests, I see a burden pressing down on your shoulders. You have placed yourself in the position of the one who must repair the whole story, the one who must guard the breathing rhythm of the relationship, the one who explains on behalf of others, endures on behalf of others, reconciles on behalf of others, and even matures on behalf of others. You thought that was deep love, but at times, it is love mixed with fear. I see you after those long messages, when you put your phone down, but your eyes still keep turning toward it, as though waiting for a verdict. I see you reading each word again and again, wondering whether you said too much, whether you did not say enough, whether you pushed them farther away, whether you made everything more tangled. I see your breathing change when the screen lights up, then sink when the reply is not what you hoped for. I see that you are tired, not only because someone is silent, but because you have begun to treat that silence as a measure of your worth. You come asking me to touch them, but you do not realize that I am also touching the hidden place within you, the place that has believed that if you do not keep trying to hold everything together, everything will fall apart. My child, love does not mean you must carry the responsibility another person refuses to bear. Kindness is not a rope for tying yourself to someone else's instability. Patience is not the act of losing your own voice in order to keep someone from leaving. I gave you a heart that knows how to love, but I did not give you the throne of the Savior. Only I can enter the secret places of a person and awaken what they refuse to see. Only I can open doors that are locked from the inside. You can love. You can pray. You can speak the truth with gentleness. You can set boundaries with purity, but you cannot force someone to mature through your own pain. Remember Moses when he led the people through the wilderness. He loved those people, interceded for them, endured their complaints, and many times stood in the middle of chaos to plead for mercy. But there came a moment when the burden became so heavy that he almost collapsed beneath the responsibility of the entire multitude. At that time, I did not tell him to continue carrying it alone in order to prove his faithfulness. I arranged for others to share the portion, so that what was too heavy would not crush the one who had been called. Do you see? Even the one entrusted with a mission by me is not called to hold every confusion alone. If I did not require Moses to carry the whole people by his own strength, why do you require yourself to carry another person's moods, choices, silence, and maturity as though that were your sacred duty? There is a very subtle turning aside when you place your peace in their change. You do not say it aloud, but your heart has quietly made a painful covenant. If they understand, then you may rest. If they apologize, then you may breathe. If they love properly, then you may be at peace. If they fix one thing, then you may believe you are still worthy of being cherished. My beloved, that is a key I never told you to place in another person's hand. The peace I give is not built on the stability of human beings, because human beings are still learning, still stumbling, still blind to themselves. If your calm depends on whether they are gentle today, whether they reply tomorrow, whether they change next week, then your heart will be like a small boat tied to a shore of sand that is always crumbling. I am not telling you to stop loving. I am calling you to love in freedom. Freedom is when you can say what needs to be said without using words to control. Freedom is when you can wait without losing yourself in the waiting. Freedom is when you can desire that they become better, but not make their maturity the condition for your peace. Freedom is when you know how to release what belongs to me and keep what belongs to you. Your part is to live truthfully. Speak truth with a tender heart. Keep yourself from bitterness and not betray the purity of your heart. My part is to work in the places you cannot touch. Their part is to respond to the light when the light comes. You cannot live all three parts without becoming exhausted. So the next time you come before me with that list, do not be afraid. I am not angry with you because you still have many things to say. Lay each line down before me, but do not read them like someone asking me to sign an order to repair another person according to your desires. Lay them down like someone handing over a burden. Say to me, Father, this is what hurts me. This is what I wish they would understand. This is what I cannot change by my own strength. Please keep my heart from turning pain into control. When you pray this way, the door of healing begins to open, not only in them, but first of all within you. I want you to learn how to breathe again without waiting for a message. Learn to eat a warm meal without letting someone's silence cool your whole day. Learn to sleep in my arms even when a conversation is still unfinished. Learn to put the phone down without treating the lack of response as a sentence against you. Learn to move through your day without constantly turning back to measure how much they have changed. This does not mean you are indifferent. It means you are returning to your rightful place. You are my child, not the one assigned to guard another person's heart through your own depletion. If they change, be grateful. If they have not changed yet, you are still held by me. If they understand, receive it with humility. If they do not yet understand, you are still not abandoned. If they love you with greater maturity, that is a blessing. If they still repeat the old patterns, you can still choose boundaries. Choose peace. Choose not to hand your heart over to that cycle anymore. I do not write your worth with another person's reaction. I called you lovable before they knew how to love. I held you before they knew how to stay. I understood you before they had the ability to listen. My beloved child, there is a hidden weariness that does not come from doing too much, but from doing things while constantly looking around to see whether you are being recognized. Your hands are still working. Your mind is still arranging. Your lips are still responding. But inside you are stretched like a tightened string, because you are not only carrying the work, you are also carrying the gaze of others. You want to do well, and that is not wrong. You want to live responsibly, and that is beautiful. But when you begin to let praise and criticism decide your worth, when you do something not only because it is right, but because you fear that if it is not seen, you will become meaningless, then work has left its proper place and climbed onto the throne within your heart. I do not want you to live that way. My child, I have not called you into a life where you must constantly prove that you are worthy of love, worthy of recognition, worthy of a place to stand. Peace will not return to you on the day everyone finally understands your whole heart, praises your labor correctly, and sees your sacrifice exactly as it was. If you wait for that, you will live in a room whose door is always open to disappointment, because human eyes change like shadows of trees in the wind. Today they may applaud, tomorrow they may be silent. Today they may remember your effort, tomorrow they may be busy with their own story. Today your words may be received, tomorrow the same words may be misunderstood. If you build your foundation on those things, you will have to rebuild yourself every time a response changes. But when you learn to ask a holier question, before whose face am I doing this? Then the door of freedom begins to open. If you do it before people, you will always have to adjust your posture, maintain your image, measure applause, and fear silence. But if you do it before me, you are free to do what is right with a pure heart, to stop when enough has been done, to rest without guilt, and to give without turning your giving into a stage. I do not need you to perform your strength before me. I know you in the moments no one sees. I know the very small efforts you had to gather through tired days. I know the times you did well and no one thanked you. I am not impressed by the polished shell you try to build, nor am I disappointed when you come to me in simple incompleteness. What I seek in you is not a perfected image, but a truthful heart. I want you to be fully present in the task entrusted to you, not as someone performing to secure a place, but as someone offering a portion of their life in peace. When you write as though I am sitting near and smiling at your faithfulness. When you care for someone, care as though my kindness is flowing through your hands. When you complete a small task, know that even that small thing can carry holy beauty if it is done with love, not fear. Remember the story of the poor woman who gave 2 small coins in the temple. Many people passing by may have noticed larger offerings, louder sounds, and more impressive appearances. But I saw her. I saw what others could not measure, the truth in her heart, the quiet offering, the trust that did not need a trumpet to announce it. Her offering was not great by the way the world counts, but in my eyes, it carried the weight of an entire heart. Do you see? I do not evaluate you by the volume of applause around you. I look into the hidden place where motives are born. A small deed done truthfully before me is more precious than many shining things built only to seek the gaze of the world. So do not despise your quiet things. Some of the most beautiful parts of your life are recorded by me while no one else knows. When your desk becomes a stage, you will no longer be able to breathe. Every unanswered message will feel like a judgment. Every silence from the phone will shake your heart. Every compliment will lift you too high, and every indifference will drag you too low. You will finish a task but not truly rest, because your heart is still standing outside the door waiting for someone to call your name. You will send out an effort but not be able to release it, because you are still watching how it is received in order to decide whether you are good enough. I want to untie you from that cord. I want you to know the joy of the one who has done their part and placed it in my hands. You may care about feedback, but do not worship it. You may learn from correction, but do not let correction rewrite your identity. You may rejoice when encouraged, but do not live on praise like a tree living only on morning dew while forgetting the deep spring. True freedom begins when you can say, I have done this with faithfulness and before me. That is enough for today. Not enough in the sense of laziness, not enough in the sense of giving up, but enough in uprightness. You have done your part with the light you had, with the strength you were given, with the wisdom you received for that day. The rest does not belong to you, whether others understand or do not understand. Praise or do not praise. Respond or do not respond. Must not become a scale hanging over your heart. I am the one who balances you with love, not with achievement. I am the one who calls you my child before you have done anything you can display. Therefore, you can work without losing yourself in work. You can strive without turning striving into a prison. You can serve without silently begging others to confirm that you have value. Practice placing holy pauses into your day. Before checking who has responded, check what your heart is clinging to. Before opening the screen, open your hands before me. Before wondering what others think of you, return to the truth that I am looking at you with an unchanging gaze. Sometimes you only need to breathe more slowly and remember that you are not an image on a screen, not the result of a project, not the number of compliments, not the speed of replies, not the degree to which others pay attention to you. You are my child. From that place, you can work without being swallowed up, love without becoming exhausted, be present without acting a role, and stop without shame. I know you once feared that if you did not try harder, appear stronger, or prove yourself more, you would be overlooked. But I do not overlook you. I see the quietest things. I see the work no one applauds, the efforts no one knows, the times you choose honesty, even when it brings you no advantage, the times you choose gentleness, even when your heart is tense, the times you do something kind and then quietly leave the room. To me, those things do not disappear. They are kept like fragrance in the hidden place. You do not need to magnify yourself to be noticed by me. You do not need to shrink yourself to avoid being wounded. You only need to live truthfully. Do the part entrusted to you, and let your heart rest beneath my gaze. From now on, when you sit at your desk, let it no longer be an arena of recognition, but an altar of faithfulness, not a noisy altar, but a place where you lay your time, ability, diligence, listening, and integrity before me. When you complete something, learn to place a gentle period at the end of it. When you send out something you have done with all the light available to you, let it leave your hand like a seed sown into the ground, not like a child sent into a crowd to search for applause. A seed has its season, feedback has its hour, and you have the peace of one who knows they have not worked before shifting human shadows, but before the one who loves them steadfastly. Then you will recognize a very deep deliverance. You still do well, but you are no longer enslaved by the need to be seen as good. You still listen to feedback, but you do not let it crush you. You still rejoice when encouraged, but if no one says anything, you still stand firm. You still care for what you do, but you no longer polish your image so much that you lose the life within. Then work returns to its rightful place. It is no longer where you dig to find your identity, but where the identity I have given you is quietly lived out. It is no longer a mirror that makes you ask whether you are worthy, but a field where you sow faithfulness, creativity, kindness, and endurance. My beloved child, there are blessings in your life that do not come with a loud echo, nor do they enter with a radiant appearance that makes you recognize them immediately. They come through someone asking whether you have eaten, through a hand pulling out a chair for you when you are tired, through a message arriving just when you thought no one remembered you, through a kitchen filled with warmth, a coat handed to you in the cold of the afternoon, a gaze without judgment when you no longer have the strength to explain. You once thought blessing was something unexpected that fell upon you like luck, but I want you to look deeper. Blessing is not a wandering coincidence that happened to stop by your life. Blessing is my faithfulness going before you, walking with you, and quietly following behind you to keep fragile things from falling away. Before you knew, you needed comfort. I had already prepared someone with a gentle voice. Before you knew you were about to become weary, I had already placed somewhere a cup of water, a meal, a shelter, a pose. Before you realized you were trembling, I had already allowed someone to stand nearby so you would not have to struggle alone. You often only see blessings after the heaviness has passed. but I have sown them along the road long before, not because you met enough conditions to be cared for, nor because you did everything perfectly. I care for you because you are my child. My love does not wait until you are worthy before it begins. That love began before you even knew how to open your hands to receive it. Sometimes the person closest to you is the gift you have not yet recognized. You may be so familiar with them that you no longer see that I am using them like a small shelter in the rain, a reminder to eat, a hand on your shoulder, a quiet moment sitting together without needing to say anything, a blanket pulled over you when night falls. All of these can be signs from me. You often search for miracles far away, in rare things, in events that make people lift their eyes. But many miracles I send are clothed in the ordinary. They do not overwhelm you, but they steady you. They do not shake the earth, but they cause your heart to stop running away. They may not change the whole sky, but they are enough for you to breathe one deeper breath and know that you are still being held. Remember Elijah in the days when he was exhausted beneath the broom tree. After he had faced many battles, he no longer had the strength to continue and only wanted to lie down in loneliness. But I did not come to him with heavy rebuke, nor did I force him to rise immediately to prove his faithfulness. I sent an angel to touch him, set bread and water beside him, and let him eat, sleep, and be restored little by little. Do you see? Sometimes healing does not begin with a profound explanation, but with a meal. Sometimes the holiest thing in a day is not thunder on the mountain, but bread at the right time, water at the right hour, and sleep under protection. I know you need truth, but I also know you need to be nourished. I know you need the way forward, but I also know you need strength to walk. So do not look lightly upon the small things that are keeping you alive. Do not despise the morning when you still open your eyes, still hear the wind slipping through the door, still see light touching the wall, still can wash your face, make a cup of tea, tidy your desk, step onto the porch, and realize that a new day is still opening before you. There are graces that do not appear like fireworks, but they are steady like a heartbeat. There are blessings that do not glitter like gold, but they are more precious than gold because they keep you from sinking. When you wake up and still have breath, that is, me saying your story has not yet closed. When you close your eyes at night and feel your heart soften, that is, me placing peace upon you like a gentle garment. When you pause in the middle of busyness, drink a sip of water, and suddenly feel that you no longer need to strain, that is, me entering your ordinary life with hidden tenderness. Many times, you have longed for a day when everything would change quickly, like a door suddenly swinging open, like lightning tearing across the sky, like a sign that makes all pain vanish at once. I understand that longing. When you have hurt for a long time, you often long to be healed immediately. When you are deeply tired, you want a great miracle, so you do not have to keep walking in weariness. But I want to teach you to recognize another form of power, quieter, yet deeper. My healing often comes like an underground spring beneath the earth. No one standing on the surface hears it singing, but it is the very thing that keeps the roots from dying, keeps the garden green when the heat lasts long, and keeps life continuing in a place others thought was only dryness. I do not save you only through great events. I preserve you through the steady rhythm of daily care. When you live with awareness, the familiar house also becomes a holy place. The sound of water running in the sink is no longer a dull sound, but a reminder that you still have something with which to be cleansed. The light reflecting on the wet road after rain is no longer an ordinary scene, but a small mirror showing you that light still knows how to find its way through cold and damp places. A warm bowl of rice, the sound of a spoon touching a bowl, the scent of clean clothes dried in the sun, the footsteps of someone returning home. All of these can become my words, if you are willing to listen. I do not wait until you are exhausted before beginning to heal you. I have built rooms of rest within daily life, so you can be lifted before you fall, soothed before you break, and reminded before you forget that you belong to love. The people I send beside you are the same. They do not always know they are carrying a gentle assignment from me. Sometimes they only think they are cooking a meal, asking a caring question, taking you home, sitting and listening while you speak of tangled things. But in my hand, those simple acts become channels of grace. You do not need to compete for blessings like someone afraid there will not be enough for them. You only need to open your hands. Open your hands to receive help without shame. Open your heart to be loved without suspicion. Open your eyes to see that I am coming to you through others. The one who is loved is not always the one who receives the greatest thing. Sometimes it is the one soft enough to recognize that even the smallest thing is carrying my breath. And you, too, become such a hand for others. When you have known that a cup of water can rescue a weary day, you will not look lightly upon offering water. When you have known that a gentle question can keep someone from falling deeper, you will not rush into silence because you think you can do nothing. When you have once been warmed by a small act, you will understand that love does not need to wait for a grand occasion in order to be expressed. I can use you like shade beside the road, like bread placed at the right moment, like a lamp in a room someone else thought had gone dark. Not because you have every answer, but because you know that my gentleness can pass through very ordinary things. My beloved child, there are afternoons in life that carry a very tender beauty, as though the whole sky is bending down to kiss what is past. Golden light rests on rooftops, on roads, on windless branches. Birds return to their nests. The sound of the day slows down, and the human heart becomes softer, deeper, more easily drawn back to things that seem to have fallen asleep. I know you once loved hours like that. I know you once stood in the last light of the day and felt comforted by old memories, by people who had passed through, by seasons that left marks on your heart. Sunset is not ugly, my child. It has its own beauty, its own tenderness, its own call that makes a person want to pause a little longer. But I did not create you to stand forever guarding the final light of a day that is already closed. I call you to walk toward the first light of a new day. What is past may be precious, but it is not where you are to build your home. Memory can be a fragrance, but it is not bread to nourish you for the journey ahead. There are things I allow you to remember so you may give thanks, but not so you may be bound. There are seasons that taught you to become softer, weiser, and more loving. But if you hold them as though they are your final destination, even what was once beautiful can become a cord around your feet. I am not telling you to despise the past. I simply do not want you to worship it. You may look back in gratitude, but your feet must face the place I am opening. For what I have prepared for you is not in the long shadow behind you, but is waiting in the light ahead. I know you have stayed with darkness long enough that sometimes it has become familiar like an old room. You have grown used to heavy thoughts until you began to think they were your true voice. You have grown used to anxiety until you considered it a companion, though it has never brought you peace. You have grown used to weariness until you thought living meant always straining, always protecting yourself, always preparing for the worst. But my child, not everything familiar is your home. Some things are familiar only because you have endured them for too long. Some heavy garments you have worn for years are not yours because they belong to you, but because you have not yet believed that you have the right to receive new clothing. I do not blame you for having become accustomed to these things. I do not stand before you with condemning eyes. I simply call you out, calling you with the gentle voice of a father, calling you to step out of the room that has become too narrow and into a wider sky. Dawn does not come looking only for those who are perfectly ready. Dawn does not shine only on the strong, on those who have never stumbled, on those who already understand everything. Dawn comes for the one who has sat too long in the night and has begun to long for another color of light. It comes for the weary, for the one who has cried in secret, for the one who once thought they no longer had the strength to begin again. You do not need to bring me a spotless record in order to enter the new day. You do not need to prove that you were never afraid, never weak, never lost. I know it all, and I still call you. What I wait for in you is not a grand declaration, but only a very small yet sincere response. You want to step out. When that desire awakens in you, even if it is still as fragile as a seedling beneath the soil, I will breathe warmth into it, and the rest of you will gradually follow the light. You do not need to understand the entire road before placing your foot on the first step. Light does not require you to explain it before it agrees to shine. It does not demand that you control the sky. It does not require you to know when the clouds will part. It does not ask you to hold the map of your whole life in your hands. Light simply exists. And when it exists, everything begins to change. Look at the ground when the first ray of morning touches it. The shapes that once seemed frightening in the night return to their proper size. The path that was once dim begins to appear. The color of leaves, rooftops, faces, doors all seem to be named again. I do the same within you. When my light touches you, not every question disappears at once, but you begin to look at them with different eyes. Not every worry melts immediately, but they no longer get to sit on the throne of your heart. You may not become strong in the way the world imagines strength, but you are lifted by a strength gentler than fear. Step into the new day. My beloved child, do not wait until every feeling is bright before you begin. Do not wait until not even a trace of longing remains before you leave what is behind. Sometimes you walk while still crying. Believe while still trembling. Open your heart while it still hurts, but even so, it is still a step toward life. I go before you like the first light of morning on the mountain peak. I am beside you like warmth upon your shoulder. I come behind you so the old things cannot pull you back with their false power. And when the first ray of light touches the hidden place within you, you will understand that dawn is not merely a moment in the sky. Dawn is my word spoken over your life. The night has not won. The past no longer rules, and you are called to keep walking in the light of my love.